All right, welcome to the Magnetic Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Schmidt. This is the first time we're coming up and doing something live. This is my hairdresser, Marco. We're using cameraman, the auto setting on this camera, and so we don't have a cameraman. Marco, is this your first time on a podcast?
This is my first time on a podcast.
Isn't this cool? It's just going back and forth between us.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, my teacher in high school would be so proud.
Mine too.
I was like running to Best Buy and Guitar Center before this. I'm like, don't worry, come over. I've got it. We don't have another second computer, so we're just going to do two mics into two sources, and we're going to turn on the auto cameraman. Man, technology is awesome.
I love the authenticity.
Let's do this. So you're my barber. You're my hairdresser. And I just interviewed about 2 weeks ago my therapist. And
Wow.
Many people would say that your barber is your therapist. Talk to me about why the hell did you get into hair cutting? Why did you want to be a barber?
Man, a question that gets asked often, more often than you think, is why I started doing hair.
Look at them. Don't look at me, man.
I was an artist before I did hair. So I did graphic design, commercial art, advertisement. And I wanted to express myself, but I hated sitting behind a desk. And I went to this tattoo convention, and there was a guy named Rob the Original there.
Rob the Original.
Look him up on Instagram. He's a famous tattoo artist, hairstylist. And I saw what he did with hair, and I was like, I could do that. And I touched a pair of clippers for the first time in barber school, and I was like, that's it. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. And it was like lights, camera, action. Let's go.
So you're pretty good. I mean, I obviously thought you were great. I remember walking in and thinking I just want to get a haircut. And everybody, I believe that day, the line at the commercial place, not that I'm going to mention the name, was about an hour and a half. And I thought, let's call it Athletic Clips. Was a little bit too long for me that day. Right. And I was just getting your average dude's cut, your average, white 40-something go down to the mini mall. And they sucked. And I didn't even know it. And in business, I think a lot of people, until you go to a premium product, you don't understand what you're missing, even if the price differential isn't that much, right? I don't know what I was paying a haircut, maybe $25. Now I'm paying maybe $35, $40, right?
Right.
So talk to me about that. Is that your clientele? Are they people who really appreciate the work you do, or do they all stumble across you like I do?
It's my job to educate people, because I think a lot of people are just not educated. So when people say I'm fine with great clips, I'm fine with sports clips or these other big franchisees, when they sit in my chair, mine's all about the experience and letting my actions create the value. I've never had anybody leave my chair and not go, well, okay, they see the value right away.
Yeah. So. Well, and I think too, the value to me if I'm going to sit in a chair with you for 40 minutes, I'm sure you wish you had this choice too. Usually you want it to be somebody who you enjoy conversing with, somebody who once every 6 weeks, kind of becomes a friend of sorts, right? Where all of a sudden you realize they kind of know what's going on in your life, so you don't have to start all over every single time. What do you do when someone gets in your chair and you're like, oh, fuck, man, you again? I got to listen to you for 40 minutes because you don't really have a choice, do you?
Oh, I do, actually. The best part about my job and why I think I love being a barber is because it's sort of turned into this tattoo industry where if I don't want a tattoo or if I don't want to cut someone's hair, I just don't do it. I often will let go of people that the vibe is not there, or there's a synergy, or it's off-putting for both them and me. And I'll do it in the most polite way. I'll pretty much say hey, I don't think I'm the barber for you. And this is going to be the last time we cut, but I'm going to refer them to somebody else that I recommend. The most important thing for me is having my values be met as well. So, you talked about price, right?
Yeah.
I in school was when I determined what I want to be worth by the minute. And we talk about seconds, numbers, what people want to be paid salary wise. For me, it was being paid $1 a minute. That was my goal right out of school. It was,
why not two?
All about having achievable goals, right? So
did you hit your goal?
Oh yeah. I'm at the point where I'm making $1 a minute. So I charge $45 for 45 minutes.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go. Why not $2 a minute now? Is it just too expensive?
Well, like anywhere, once you get the clientele, the rest will follow. Eventually, every year the price will go up. That's typically the tradition with barbers is as your clientele grows to 500 plus, you have to wean out.
Hold on. So 500 people, if they get cut every 6 weeks and you can cut 6 people's hair a day, 8 people's hair?
Typically 8 to 10
Okay,
for
so
me.
30 days a month. That's okay. 240 times 2, 480 every 2 months, about when guys
Yep.
get cut. Oh, damn. So, okay, let's talk about the profitability of haircutting. I've always wanted to know this. So you're opening your own studio.
Yep.
Okay, because someone
This
else is taking a
Thursday.
cut on you. So congratulations,
Yeah,
brother.
that's what I'm talking about, man.
So you're getting a $45 haircut. This time you're keeping it all.
I've always kept it all.
Okay.
There's three different types of barbers. There's hourly, there's commission, and there's booth rent. I've always gone the booth rental route.
Okay. You're paying straight up and you're keeping the rest.
Paying straight up. So I've always had my own LLC out of school.
Okay.
Some people do it differently.
Yeah.
If you believe in it, you can achieve in it. So.
Well, let's talk about this now, because I think the people who are listening to this show probably have more of a business mind than those who don't. So this is fun, because I say there's money to be made in everything. Listen up, because you think, oh, I'm in sales, I make a lot of money. Great. So there's a guy who takes trash off down the road who owns 10 different franchises for trash companies, right? And so there's a lot of barbers out there making $1 million. What? I Googled it. How? How are they making all this money? Are they turning into influencers now? Are they carrying product lines? Like, walk me through that, because there's this like evolution of the barber becoming an entrepreneur where they're saying, I'm worth $5 a minute.
Man, dude, it is so much easier than people think, actually, to be a six-figure barber. Let's go with six figures, right? To make $100,000.
Let's start small.
Let's start small, because right out of school, you don't even know your worth. I remember charging $10 for neighborhood kids to come into my house while I was in school. So how did I get from $10 to $50 to $100 full service?
Yeah.
It's not doing more things. Like, let me just stop everybody right there. You think like, oh, well, if I do the straight razor, if I do the style at the end, if I do the hair wash, I charge for all of that. So it's selling the experience, not you all the time. Anybody can cut hair. Anyone can grab a pair of clippers from Walmart, go on the same websites on Amazon and get the same exact equipment.
Oh, but the result is different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So there's quality control, right? So in those franchise places, it's quantity over quality. So to get a six-figure barber, I think they focus on quality over quantity.
Here's what I don't get. I can go buy a shirt for $300 and nobody even blinks an eye these days. Well, I mean, they do. And I don't buy $300 shirts. But let's go say I went and bought a James Pierce shirt for $300. And I wore it maybe twice a month, right? I'm going to get a haircut every 6 to 8 weeks. And I said, well, $50 is too much. And I'm going, well, really? If you're spending $200 a year to cut your hair, which you wear every day, why wouldn't you value the look of that, the cleanliness of it? I know when I go 6, 7, 8 weeks, I start to feel kind of bad about myself.
You want to know the difference between a good barber and a bad barber?
I do.
3 weeks.
Oh, I get it.
3 weeks.
5 weeks or 8 weeks?
No, like, it's not the haircut right when I do it. It's in 3 weeks, does it still look good?
Oh.
So for me, I can tell immediately if somebody went to a different place and they sat back in my chair. So if you went down the street to Joe Schmo and then you come back to me, I'm going to know someone cut your hair.
Son of a bitch.
Yep.
You'd be so pissed if you start cutting my neck, just like scissors into my neck. Does that piss you off when people go to other people? Does it feel like they're cheating on you? Really? Come on.
I don't know everybody's budget. So I have people they come to me for only special events, that date, that interview.
Yeah, the special event I have is I need my hair cut. And I see what you're saying.
Do you value yourself?
I do, because I got to be on this thing all the time. And occasionally people will say like, hey, your hair looks good. Where do you get your hair cut? And I say, and they're like, I've never heard of that. And I'll say, yep. And so people do notice far more than a shirt I would wear, or quite honestly, the car I drive. And people pay $600, $700, $800 a month for something nobody gives a shit about. And so it really comes back to when I try and understand value. It's always in the eye of the beholder, right? And a lot of times you just go, well, why does that cost that much? If I wanted you to come over to my house on a Saturday and cut my hair while I was watching TV, how much would you charge?
$200.
Okay. That's a concierge visit.
Yep.
Why don't you do that all day then? Because that's more money.
It's taxing on my body.
You got to move around and go see people.
I got to move stuff around. And do they have the right lighting? Do they have the right chairs? When I have it all at my studio,
you just know.
I know exactly what they're going to get with what I'm bringing to the table. On that value subject, though, because you kind of struck a nerve when you're like, I feel like the most common thing, if someone's never came to me before, let's say they're getting a haircut beard, $80, right? I basically times the 45 times 2, but because they're getting 2 services, I give a little bit of a discount, right?
Sure.
I subtract $10 because it's a bundle deal. So I'm getting more and they're getting more. But to people who have never had my service, if I said $80 for a haircut and beard, their first reaction I get most of the time is, what? Like, are you kidding me? And when I get that kind of response, I'm like, yeah, you can leave. Because it's just disrespectful to me in my industry. And back to your house statement, right? Let's say you had to get construction done. You wanted a remodel of your bathroom.
Yeah.
And the guy comes and he gives you a bid. Let's say you did multiple bids and the guy gives you, oh, it's going to be $10,000. Do you look at the guy and go, what? $10,000 for what? Does everybody have to explain their value and their worth? I mean, we become a society basically where you have to justify your worth with credentials and a resume and this, that, and the third. Well, my resume speaks for itself. I have walking billboards walking around this entire town. I at minimum have 500 of them.
Ooh.
So if you're not going to sit in my chair, just know somebody else will.
I'm sitting here going, I know right now you've got $150,000 on a shop if you got 500 people a year, right? That's about the annual income.
Yep.
You got expenses off the top of that. Now, if you wanted to, let's say, I know you're thinking about getting into, call it the podcast game and doing more of talking about the haircut game on podcast, which is a very crowded space. I found out, like on TikTok and Instagram, there's a lot of barbers doing that today. Some of them are signed and they're influencers for Squire and all these agencies. I was like, holy smokes, there's thousands of them, right? A lot in like Detroit, Chicago, inner cities, like none in Sioux Falls though. So you could be the first influencer haircutter and barber in Sioux Falls.
I'm one of 5, and I know that because I've done my research. And I'm also one of the only ones that has a goal of opening up a barber school.
Oh,
so going right into what you're saying, it's like, well, what's going to set us apart? If there's so many people that are doing podcasts, if there's so many barbers out there, what's going to set me apart? And the difference is, I just want to be an educator. Instead of keeping all the success to myself, I'm like, I want to bring everybody else up with me.
Yeah.
And teach your traditional cosmetologist, barber, hairstylist how to do what I do.
Yeah. How to be a business owner.
How to be a business owner, how to do it the right way, how to become that $40,000 a year person to $100,000 a year person to $200,000 a year.
Yeah.
I'm in the next bracket right now. I'm past 6 figures and I'm trying to reach the next goal, which is another form of income. So now I'm getting into product lines. Now we're getting into social media influencing.
Yeah.
Now we're getting into how to get sponsorships, and that takes time.
Yeah.
So
it takes a lot of time. I've been doing this for 3 years, and I look at it like someone said to me when I was out running around, it must be nice that you get to do this on a Monday. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm like, I've done all weekend. I've been editing videos, uploading YouTube titles and descriptions. And I was like, you know what? I am lucky.
Right.
Because that's not hard. It's fun. And I get to always research. Like I was watching Mr. Beast this weekend and just trying to understand, why do people want to watch Mr. Beast? Not he's bad or he's good. Just what is it about it? Right. It's just good editing, clean fun, people competing and going, I wonder if they're going to keep going. And it's always like this
edge of your seat.
So, and I know even with podcasts, it's like people want to know, how do you keep people listening? And we live in this hyper attention deficit economy where even as a barber, like if you don't have a podcast in 10 years, either you're going to be like the old school guy who everybody likes because you don't, or how are you going to be able to compete for new business, right? Because I would have gladly found you online. I found you on accident. I found my therapist on Instagram, and he just happened to live in Sioux Falls. So are you leading this new sort of movement here, at least in Sioux Falls? Do you look at yourself as being someone who can set an example, or is it more competitive for you?
It's all self-motivation. From a very young age, it was not enough to be on the soccer team. I had to be the captain. And I said this since I got into barber school. I did not have friends in barber school. I was not there to make friends. I had the mindset of, do you want to be good or do you want to be great?
Oh, get out.
Do you want to be good or do you want to be great?
Get out.
So while you guys are enjoying your holidays on Christmas and Thanksgiving, guess where I'm at?
Oh, boy.
The barbershop.
Being a gangster.
I'm at the barbershop making money. I stay late. I come in early. This is why real barbers will value their time differently. So yeah, you want a haircut at 6 a.m.? That's fine. That'll be $150. You want a haircut after 6 o'clock when I get off? No problem. I'll stay late. That'll be $150.
Real cheese roll in silence like lasagna.
Do you want to be good or do you want to be great? And that goes with how you look. When you dress 100, you feel 100. And I'm just so thankful that I get to have a job. And see, this is super important. I hope everybody that's listening really captures this moment. How many people do you know who get to actually physically touch someone with their job? You have your doctors, you have your dentist. Yeah. And I'm fortunate enough that I'm a barber. I physically get to transform someone's life So if they're a drug addict, if they're an alcoholic, if they're
Mm.
dealing with depression, bulimia, bullying of any kind, then when
Yeah.
they leave my chair, they're looking 100 every time
And feeling 100, it
and
sounds like.
feeling 100.
I wonder if I've always felt 100 when I left your chair. I feel like I do.
I always feel better after you leave my
Yeah.
chair, actually.
We got this thing going on where it's just like we come and we're like, guess what? And he's like, really?
Time to unload.
Let's unload. Yeah. And then I'm just like, well, and then I got to go to the therapist every week too. And it's been wild. I think the further I've gone out, like with this, right, and done more podcasts, which normally is not about me, it's about other people, right, and clients, the more I've looked inward, and because it forces you to.
Yep.
And you see yourself, and it's like, someone said, well, you don't listen to your podcast. I said, of course I do. I got to listen to what I'm saying. Like, how would I know what I'm saying and what to get better at? It's like, do you not watch your game tape if you're Tom Brady? Is that selfish and egotistical of me if I listen to my voice again? No, it'd be like watching game tape. And so I'm looking at this like, if I'm not embarrassed of what I'm doing now in a year, I'm pathetic, right? If I'm not advancing my own career, it doesn't matter where I am, it matters where I'm going. And it's like you said, continuous learning, right? And I look at this craft where I broke it down the other day, and for clients, we charge $500 an hour. Yeah. And someone said, is that a lot of money? And I said, well, let's break it down. We have 5 people working every hour. And my rate's $250. You want to call me and talk sales, $250 an hour, right? A lot of people don't want to pay it. I say, that's fine. I just saved $250 an hour of my time. Right. And I look at it as a business owner where I go, well, someone said, well, what do you make out of that $500 an hour? I said, that's a good question. I'll share with you about $250, right? It changes on the hour though, right? Yep. Because if I have to get more involved, it's more expensive. Yep. If I'm less involved, it's less quality and it's more money, right? And so it's this infinite balance of how do I get out of the business and run the business so the business can grow versus I got to stay in the business so the business can be good. And I know there's this magical moment, call it transference of knowledge and energy and training and systems. And I feel like I'm there. I mean, there's 6 people working on my team right now on other things, editing, YouTube uploads. I do get to be the fun one who gets to sit here and talk to you while this is happening, but I got 2 more podcasts as soon as this is over, and I will be hoarse and I will be drained by the end of that, but I love it.
Right. I think what you're going into for me is one of the most important things that I've realized inward is time money or is money time?
Ooh, stoicism.
Is time money or is money time?
I would say it depends on how you look at it.
Well, I look at time very differently than most people do. And I don't mean to get like deep because I mean, I'm a barber, you're an influencer. But I always ask people this when I'm in my chair and how they view time, because it's like, how often do you see your parents?
Oh, I see what you're going at here. 1 hour a week.
Okay. I see my dad once a year.
That little bit of time is extremely valuable.
It's extremely valuable. Yep. And I'm going to go a little bit deeper with it. So statistically speaking, the average lifespan of a man is 78. The average lifespan of a woman is 82.
Okay.
If I see my dad once a year and I'm 31 and he's 56, I will only see my dad about 20 more times before he's gone. Yeah. And when I think about what I do for a living, it's like, is time money or is money time? Because I can't buy any more time with him. I mean, I could buy more flights to go see him and I could, but I'm in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So now when people try to make me justify my price, it's like, well, how often do you get to see your parents? How often do you see your kids on Christmas? How often am I here while you're there? Yeah. Because I'm giving up my time to make sure that you look 100. So shouldn't I charge sufficiently for it?
Sure.
I'm just saying. I mean, that's where it's a hard silver lining between is time money or is money time.
It's a tough thing. Everyone wants to seemingly make. I see people say they want more time. I see the same people wanting to make more money. And I see confusion because they go, well, show me how to do that where I can get more time and more money. And people write books about it, the 4-hour work week. I mean, there's just like, but a lot of people would say, well, what's the secret there? And I would say that if I've learned anything, it's that you can't view a missed opportunity of like, if I'm not working, I'm not earning is the wrong mindset. It's if I'm not working, it's my time. And I don't quantify my time backwards like that, like you said, where I think the point you were making is I don't look at my time when I'm with my family and go, man, I could be making $500 an hour.
Nope.
I'm sitting there saying, I don't even count that. Like everything else is for that. Right. And so
I got one.
Yeah. What is it?
You got this?
Yeah.
I hope that someone really writes this down. Write this down right now. I know you have your phone on you. Um, does your life begin when you get to work, or does your life begin when you get home?
Mm.
Because for me, it used to be when I check into the barbershop, when I clock in and I take that first client, that's when my life started. And now I've realized, like, when I'm at work, that's work.
Yeah.
That's just servicing other people. It's a business transaction. But when I get home and I turn the key fob onto my car and I walk through those doors and I see my kids, that's when life actually begins. And it starts two times in the day. It's like when you wake up and before you leave the house, that's when your life begins.
Yeah.
And then when you get home and you do it all over again, that's how much time you actually have. So for me, the monotony of just like haircut, 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 that's just life. But is it living?
Yeah. I'm going to counter that and say, yes, all that sounds great. But at the end of the day, a lot of us are addicted to work because we're good at it and we're not good at life. And life's
Yeah.
hard. And being a dad is hard. And going home to a kid who not only doesn't appreciate you, wants to throw things at you at night because they're tired. Like it's hard. So it sounds good and go home and you're like, man, there's some days you're like, work is easy. This is hard. And I forget that little thing in my head that says, but this is living. This is you not having control over something and you having to be okay with it. Where at work, you feel like you have control over something, you're good at it, so you get to go do it, and
I
nobody
don't think
makes
a
you
lot
feel
of
that
people
way.
do have control. I think a lot of people are lost, actually. I think a lot of people are stuck in this. I have to do this because this is what pays the bills. And we live in a culture where bare minimum is everything. And you said it earlier, right? The trash man guy,
Yeah,
if you're going to be a janitor, my mindset's completely different. It it's be the best at anything that you're doing. If you work at McDonald's,
hmm,
be the best employee at McDonald's and you'll find joy in it. But if you don't find joy in it, you'll never find happiness because joy comes before happiness. So why my job doesn't feel like a job is because I actually enjoy what I'm doing.
yeah,
So there's happiness in it. So when you come in my chair and we have these great conversations and you get to unload and I get to unload and we go back and forth, and at the end of the day you walk out feeling 100, and then I feel great when people like you go, man, that's the best haircut of my life. But then 10 miles down the road you go get lunch and 10 more people compliment you on your haircut.
yeah.
That's the satisfaction. That's the reward, I will say, from the enjoyment, the happiness, is having a client come to me because I did your hair.
That's beautiful, man. Let's wrap this up here because I got another one of these to record. This is super fun. First one ever in the studio. We're
It's
going to do it
awesome.
again. What if anybody's out there listening, or their kid is thinking about cutting hair, or they're thinking about it? What advice would you give them if they're going to go hit the internet and they want to learn about, call it Barbershop 101? Where would they go?
360 Jeezy on YouTube is where I would honestly begin. I would not get your haircut equipment from Walmart. I would really invest into good tools.
Is it true a cutters costs like 7 grand? A good
A lot
shears?
of people get confused with the cost of things. It's not your clippers, it's your shears.
Your shears.
Yeah.
I heard that to come out of school, it's got to be,
$1,500 a pair.
geez, man.
Yeah. So the clippers are, $300 or less. That's pocket change. If anybody stole those things, whatever, it's
Pocket
replaceable.
change.
I can't replace the shears. They're custom made from Germany. So,
Jeez.
and if you have 6 pairs, that's 10 grand right there. But don't get hung up on those things. Don't let that doubt you. Your school's going to give you some starter sets, and then you'll find the value in the things that you want. So
And you're opening up a school, it sounds like, in the future. That's
I'm
on the
already
list.
starting education since a year ago. I've done classes. Now I need a foundation. Now God planted the seed, but I'm definitely going to be opening up a school here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I see the need for it.
Hmm.
We have a cosmetology program here. It's time. It's my time to show the world what I can give back, and if
Hmm.
I can do it, I'd love to see if I can teach it.
Yeah.
So to the people that want to do barbering or interested in hair, go check out a convention. They're very affordable. I mean, you're talking $25 to go check out and see professional barbers go head to head to see who does the best cut. And this is speed. This is going to be designs. These are going to be haircut and beards. There's actually a competition called Rumble in the Rockies in Colorado, but they're everywhere in every state, basically. So I would say, even if you're interested, go tour school. you know.
That's beautiful, man.
Yep. But I was excited to do this. I appreciate you, Steve.
Thank you for coming on, man. Now tell everybody where they can find you online before we go.
So you can find me on Squire, squire.com/tricombs barbershop, or you can find me on Google Maps, Tricombs Barbershop. Instagram is going to be hair_splinta.
Spell out trichome for them.
TRI-COMBS.
Tricombs.
Tricombs.
Get it? Combs, barber. All right, brother. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate you coming in the Magnetic Studio, everybody. Peace out. Until next time.